My dad died when my brothers and I, aged 26, 7, and 5, were 12, 7, and 5. I was 12 when I met my stepdad for the first time. He and my mom got married just before my 13th birthday, so it was a short time I knew him before he became my stepdad. My stepdad met us all, expecting he would be stepping in as a father to all three of us. For this reason, he and my older brother never got along. My younger brother and I were younger, so it was expected we'd be different, but it didn't work that way. I liked him and saw him more like an uncle, not a dad or a parent, and he tried really hard to be more than that, sometimes far too hard, and it caused us to pull back. It would then lead to discussions and asking why we were resisting having a second dad and being told we could have more than one. Our dad would want us to have more than one. It led us to therapy, where my mom and stepdad were told by the therapist that it wasn't something they could or should force, and that being an uncle figure was better than all three of us landing where my older brother did, which they were risking. We also got to hear in therapy how my stepdad never got to have kids of his own and would have loved them, and so he felt extra hurt that the kids he loved and wanted to be that dad for didn't want him in that way. There was a definite shift after therapy. He was less involved, still caring and all, but he did pull away some, and while I think we were supposed to want him more, it was a relief. Both my younger brother and I were more relaxed about our stepdad after that. We didn't miss his extra efforts, and my mom told us a few times that it made my stepdad feel really bad. I got engaged recently, and my mom and stepdad asked me directly if my stepdad would be given the role as father of the bride. I told them I was intending to ask my older brothers, but not in the full role, more so a few of the traditions that come with it. My stepdad asked me not to. He said he wanted to fill the role, that he wanted to walk me down the aisle and have a father-daughter dance, as well as being the one who says he gives me to my fiancé. I told him I understood, but that wasn't what I wanted. I told him he would still be included, just not that way. That he and my mom would be seated at a table with my in-laws, would be walking to their seats together like my in-laws, and would be announced like them. After that talk, I asked my brothers, and both of them said yes. My younger brother said they would wear something of Dad's while doing it, and since they both look so much like him, and we all do, it could be an extra comfort to me. I was so happy. Now for an update. My mom and stepdad aren't happy. They told me the discussion was not over, and I didn't give my stepdad enough consideration. My mom told me I could have given my stepdad the greatest gift of being a dad for one day, and I denied him. And by choosing both brothers, especially my younger brother, I insulted him. For clarity's sake, my stepdad is not giving any money to the wedding. Am I the bad guy? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It's your wedding. It isn't your job to spend your wedding day helping your stepdad pretend he's your dad. It's your day, and there's nothing wrong with having your brothers serve in the roles you've chosen for them. It's not mean, inconsiderate, or wrong. Your mom says the conversation isn't over. Well, yes, it is over if you walk out of the room, hang up the phone, and block it until it stops. It is not her prerogative to harangue you if you don't wish to be harangued. Now go plan and enjoy the wedding you and your fiancé choose and ignore this nonsense. Comment 2. They told me the discussion was not over and I didn't give my stepdad enough consideration. My mom told me I could have given my stepdad the greatest gift of being a dad for one day, and I denied him. Your mom and stepdad are being ridiculous and overstepping. The wedding plans are between you and your fiancé. This discussion shouldn't have begun and is over if you refuse to continue it. If your stepdad is fixated on being dad for a day, laugh out loud. Tell him that should work on April 14, 2027, and see if he wants to go to the zoo or something. Enjoy your wedding. Now for the update. I'm back with an update, and trust me, this one is wild. So, a couple of days after my last convo with my stepdad, I get this text from my mom about a family dinner happening next weekend. She says everyone's invited, including my stepdad. I mean, what was the alternative? Not invite him? Crazy. Anyway, I figured it'd be nice to sit down and eat together, but I was so wrong. Like, so wrong. When the day finally came, the atmosphere was just yikes. The tension was so thick you could feel it. My stepdad's demeanor was noticeably distant. I could tell he'd been sulking, probably practicing his best sad puppy dog face. My older brother Jake tried breaking the ice because, that's what older brothers do. He brought up the wedding plans, trying to lighten the mood, but then my stepdad just had to be a downer and express his disappointment about not being the father of the bride. It wasn't even the right time to be making that announcement. Sam, my younger brother, shifted uncomfortably in his seat, and I could feel the awkwardness from everyone. My mom, bless her heart, tried to mediate the situation. She suggested a toast to celebrate my engagement, which I thought was a good idea until it wasn't. During the toast, my stepdad raises his glass and states he wishes he could take on a more significant role in the wedding. Like, dude, we get it. We said no. His response was so pathetic, though. He flinched visibly when I said it was going to be Jake and Sam. I noticed Jake exchanging worried looks with Sam, and I could just tell they were silently debating whether or not to back me up. Before I could even process what was happening, my stepdad abruptly leaves the table, muttering about feeling unwanted. Classic move. My mom followed him, leaving the rest of us in stunned silence. After what felt like forever, Jake broke the silence by suggesting we should finish dinner. But honestly, the atmosphere was just heavy. It was like we were all walking on eggshells. Later that night, I got a call from my stepdad. He accused me of being selfish and completely disregarding his feelings. I mean, didn't I just do that? He hung up abruptly, and I was left feeling frustrated and annoyed. A few days later, my mom called to discuss the dinner. She mentioned how my stepdad is considering withdrawing from the wedding entirely. Can you believe that? I talked to Jake about the situation, and he suggested that I meet with my stepdad to clear the air. I agreed to the idea, but had no clue how to approach it. We decided to meet my stepdad at this local diner where we often gathered as a family. When we got there, my stepdad arrived looking tense, but he was willing to talk, which was a surprise. The conversation started off awkwardly. He shared how he felt like an outsider, especially after my dad passed. I mean, who wouldn't feel that way? The conversation shifted when he revealed he had been struggling with his role in the family. As we continued talking, he unexpectedly mentioned that he was considering moving away. Like, seriously, he insisted that he doesn't want to be a burden anymore. I honestly didn't know how to feel about that. After the diner meeting, I found myself caught between family loyalty and my stepdad's feelings. I decided to reach out to my mom to discuss the recent developments. She expressed concern but also frustration with my stepdad's potential decision to leave. The family dynamics feel more fragile than ever, and I know I can't ignore the situation. I ended the call with a plan to bring everyone together before the wedding, hoping for a resolution. As the wedding date approaches, it's like the issue just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Edit, my stepdad is not my biological dad. He married my mom after my dad passed. My brothers and I struggled after the loss. Am I the idiot for telling my manipulative father to leave me alone and exposing his lies on social media? I'm 21 years old and estranged from my father. The relationship is complicated. Our estrangement started to build when I was 13 and became official when I turned 15. And in court, I was given the choice not to go to his house anymore. For people who need to know, he burdened me with things he was keeping from my mom, with bad choices he made, and with a secret that was always going to cause a lot of trouble. He put the weight of our family's happiness on my shoulders until I broke. My mom's anger was more about what he did to me than the things he did to her. Not long after I stopped going to see my dad, he got married, and he became a stepfather to 3 kids. I'm not sure of the ages, but they are twin girls and a boy. My younger siblings, who are 16 years old and 14 years old, still go to my father's house. Their relationship with him is still okay. It's not as bad as mine is, but it's not good by any means. But he didn't damage them like he did me either. Anyway, a few months ago, my mom fell on hard times, and my siblings' birthdays are 4 weeks apart, so I gave her some money for gifts for them. I wanted to help her out, especially since losing her job out of nowhere came at one of the worst times for her. She was dealing with a flare-up of a medical condition. One of my siblings mentioned it to our father, and when he and his wife ended up short on getting the twins the gifts they wanted for their upcoming birthdays, he reached out to me on social media to ask, since I have him blocked on my phone. I ignored him. He asked again. I ignored him again. I ended up blocking him when he tried a third time. He caught me going to my mom's after work the other day, and he asked me why I was so unwilling to help my other siblings when I helped my mom with my actual siblings' birthday gifts. I ignored him more and went inside, but he waited until I was leaving to go home, and he followed after me. He asked again, and I told him it's because I don't care about his wife's children. They are nothing to me, and I do not feel any urge to help him make their birthdays special. I then told him to leave me alone. He yelled after me that I didn't need to take my hatred of him out on innocent kids and that he knew I could afford to, and he would have paid me back, unlike my mom. I yelled back that my mom did pay me back. I just hadn't expected or wanted her to. To add to this, he ended up stealing my brother's phone the next time they were at his house and sent me a bunch of texts about my selfishness and coldness. Am I the jerk? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If someone blocks you on their phone, take the hint. They want nothing to do with you, and to continue to try and contact them constitutes harassment. He is harassing his daughter. It's no wonder she has no interest in helping him. You are not the jerk. Comment 2. You are not the jerk. What he did to you is inexcusable, first of all. Secondly, you made the choice to help your mother and your siblings. No one is entitled to your money, especially someone like him. If he contacts you again, get a restraining order. Now, for the update. 2 days after my father yelled at me, I got a text from my younger sister asking to talk. Instantly, I was super worried. I didn't respond to my dad's stepkids when they reached out to me, and my father had gone nuts about it. I figured he was trying to pull my siblings into his nonsense. I wasn't wrong. My sister said our dad's behavior was affecting her and our younger brother, who was caught in the middle of all this. I agreed to meet her at the local diner where we used to hang out after school. Good old times and all that. When I saw her, she looked anxious, which said a lot. She was always the one to back my dad's decisions because she wanted to keep the peace. I knew this was really bothering her. She got right to the point, saying our dad was spreading lies about me to them. He was claiming I was selfish and abandoning family. My sister was pretty mad about it too. She said he was manipulating her and our brother, trying to guilt them into supporting the stepkids. It was the same old trick my dad had been pulling since he left my mom. Just then, our brother walked in, and I knew he was overhearing us. He had a look of shock on his face when he joined us. He was upset after hearing our dad talk badly about me. He had been trying to stay out of the drama, but I could tell it was getting to him. We talked about how our dad had been pressuring them to convince me to help with gifts for his stepkids. They didn't want to do it, but the guilt trips were getting to them. I decided enough was enough. I needed to confront my dad again, but this time with my siblings present. We planned to meet at our dad's house next weekend for our younger brother's birthday. When the day arrived, I showed up with my siblings, who were both nervous about the confrontation. They had never stood up to our dad like this before. We walked into the house, and my dad was already there, chatting with his stepkids. It made me feel sick. The atmosphere was weird, but I didn't care. I wanted to address the accusations directly. I told my siblings to back me up when I confronted my dad. They agreed, even though they were hesitant. When I called my dad out about the lies, he tried to act like he was joking. My siblings didn't buy that for a second. They were both irritated with him. He started yelling about how no one appreciated the family he was trying to build. That was funny, coming from him. My siblings pointed out that his actions were hurting everyone, including his stepfamily. In a fit of rage, he threatened to cut off contact with them if they didn't support him. I calmly stated that he had already pushed me away and that I wouldn't be manipulated anymore. He stormed off to another room, and my siblings and I felt empowered. We had stood up to him, and it felt good. Later that evening, I got a call from my mom asking what happened. I explained the confrontation, and she was supportive and proud of how we handled it. It made me feel better about everything. A few days later, I found out my dad was planning a family vacation with his new family. I learned this through a group chat involving my younger siblings, who were invited but unsure about going. They didn't want to tell my dad they were discussing it with me. So, I decided to take action. I posted a public message on social media addressing the lies my dad had been spreading. I detailed the manipulation and made it clear I wouldn't support his stepchildren or him anymore. The post gained traction, with family members and friends chiming in with support. It caused a stir within the family. My dad got mad and tried to downplay the situation, but to no avail. My siblings received messages from other relatives expressing their disapproval of my dad's actions. The more my dad tried to manipulate my mom into siding with him, the more she stood firm with me. I learned from my siblings that my dad was upset with them for discussing family issues publicly. The step-family was now divided, with some feeling uncomfortable about my dad's tactics. His attempts to paint me as the villain were failing, and I was enjoying every second of it. The post ended up getting shared by some family members, and my dad's reputation took a hit. I was planning a small get-together with my siblings, free from my dad's influence. After everything that had happened, we deserved a break from the craziness. Possible future update. If my dad tries to pull any more stunts, I'll make sure to update. Am I the idiot for refusing to give my ex-wife half of the apartment sale proceeds after she showed up uninvited to my housewarming party? Backstory. I am a 36-year-old male who bought my apartment 15 years ago, in 2009, as it was my obsession to have my own home. This means I went to work after trade school and saved half of my monthly salary in a savings account. It was only possible by living with my parents and their support, the fact that they let me live at home rent-free for those 2 years and commuting to work every day, which was a 1-hour train ride to the capital city. I managed to collect enough for a 20% down payment for a home loan. It was a 2-bedroom apartment in the city that needed to be renovated in an old Soviet-style building. I live in Estonia. In 2009, prices were low as the economic collapse had not long ago occurred. In the last 15 years, my girlfriend, now ex-wife, and I renovated the whole apartment room by room over the years. The apartment building itself was renovated and looks great. Also, a new business park was built near the apartment in our district, and all of this raised the prices of apartments so much that when I sold it, I received 5.5 times more for it than the purchase price. We also got married. The story. Last summer, my ex suddenly displayed all the red flags. She started to carry her phone everywhere, like it was a baby. She locked the screen every time I entered a room. She was distant, and the list goes on. I confronted her, and at first, she claimed that he is just a friend who understands me, the classics. But of course, it led straight to divorce, as I was suddenly controlling and jealous. After the whole drama ended, I decided to move back to my childhood town. With the help of Infection 19 a few years ago, home office was suddenly an option, and I never worked in the office anymore, so there was no need to live in the city. For the price of an apartment in the city, I bought a house in the small town that has everything I need. When she found out that I was selling the apartment, she sent me her account number and told me to pay 50% of the proceeds to that account. I told her no. She assumed she would get it because we were married. Later, she demanded it because she helped me renovate it and did most of the cooking, etc. I admit that is true. She is very good at changing wallpapers and painting. She also cooks very well, but I bought all the materials for renovating and I purchased all the furniture. I told her that she could consider all her efforts as rent, but she became really upset. I have lived in my new house for a week now, and she still annoys me. Even some of our mutual friends agree with her that I am being unreasonable for not giving her some money from the sale of the apartment. I achieved my dream of a loan-free life. I am considering blocking everyone who keeps bothering me about it. I heard from a mutual friend that she even wanted to sue me, but the lawyer she talked to recommended against it, as in a situation where she has no bills to prove she ever contributed anything, she would waste money and lose. Am I the jerk for not giving my ex anything? To be clear, I got the place before we married, and we had no children. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You got divorced. That was the time she could have asked for the money used in the renovation. Because yes, improving the living place is a part that should be paid. But it sounds like the divorce is final, and so are your obligations to her. It is her fault that she forgot to claim anything for the apartment during the divorce. Block her, and tell the mutual friends that you don't want to talk about things related to your ex-wife. Comment 2. Your divorce is finalized, so asset distribution is complete and your legal relationship is over. She therefore has no claim on your house, savings, or time. Not the idiot for ignoring her request, blocking her number, and telling anyone who sides with your ex her bank details so they can make payment. Now for the update. 2 weeks after moving in, I decided to throw a housewarming party to actually meet people in the area. I invited a few friends from my old city and some new ones I was hoping to meet from the small town. Party was in my backyard, set up with a grill and some outdoor games. I was excited to finally have some fun after all the moving chaos. Everything was going fine until my ex-wife showed up uninvited. Like, seriously? She walked in with this big smile, saying she wanted to support me. Some of my friends looked shocked and started whispering to each other. I could feel it. They were probably like, "Isn't that the ex?" Yeah, no kidding. So there I was, trying to play it cool, but she kept getting in my face. Near the grill, she started insisting we needed to talk about the sale money. I mean, come on, it's a party. I was just trying to keep the conversation light, steer it away from anything serious. But no, she was on a mission. Then, out of nowhere, my buddy Mark jumped in, bless his heart. He tried changing the subject to sports or something, but my ex, being her charming self, was like, "It's only fair I get a portion of the sale." I could feel my blood pressure rising. Like, really? I had to remind her that she had no legal claim since the apartment was mine before we even met. Then came the awkward silence. You could cut the tension. Everyone sensed the drama. She then raised her voice, threatening to take legal action. My friends looked uncomfortable. I mean, what were they going to do? Jump in and play referee? No thanks. To defuse the situation, I decided to move away and engage with other guests. As the night went on, my friends started leaving, and that tension just lingered. It was like a bad smell you couldn't get rid of. Finally, she stormed off, slamming the gate behind her. What a dramatic exit. The next day, I got a message from Mark asking if everything was okay. I texted back, saying it was just a misunderstanding. Had to downplay the whole thing, you know? A week later, I decided to check out a local farmer's market to relax. While browsing, I ran into my ex again, but this time she was shopping with a dude. Turns out, this guy was a local contractor. I'd seen his work around town, and he was the one who'd done work on her new apartment. I couldn't help but overhear them chatting about renovations and all that. I just stood there, pretending to look at tomatoes, but I was all ears. Later, I bumped into another mutual friend who asked about the party. He mentioned hearing rumors about my ex planning to take me to court. I just brushed it off, saying there was no basis for any legal action. I mean, come on. As I was leaving the market, I spotted a flyer for a community meeting about neighborhood disputes. I thought, why not? That could be useful. A few days later, I got a call from another friend who seemed concerned about the rumors. This friend suggested I should gather proof of my ownership of the apartment. I was like, yeah, good idea. That weekend, I attended the community meeting and actually met some nice neighbors. Towards the end of the meeting, someone mentioned a neighborhood watch group. I signed up, thinking it would help me integrate into the community. But then, my ex's presence in town started becoming more frequent. She was stirring up old drama wherever she went. So here I am, putting up decorations for the festival, feeling the community around me grow. It's been a ride, for sure. Edit, my ex moved to town a few weeks after me. I think she did it to annoy me. She still wants half the sale. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.